Whoa, 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 whoa. So, WBO President Francisco Paco, World Boxing Organization, has immediately shot down Premier Boxing Champions and Al Heyman, the PBC, and the claims made like Leonard Ellaby, CEO of Mayweather Promotions, that Errol the True Spence Jr. is in-house. He's family. He gets the opportunity to fight the winner of Tszyu Sebastian Fundora, which we know turned out to be Sebastian Fundora in a shocking way. Sebastian Fundora, he upset Tszyu to become the unified WBC WBO junior middleweight world champion. So with that said, that left Terrence Bud Crawford, who just dominated Errol Spence in July. He dominated Errol Spence. He stopped Errol Spence. And he petitioned the WBO to be the mandatory challenger for this belt, for the WBO belt at 154. As he did when he beat Julius Indongo, moved up to 147. He petitioned the WBO, Mr. Paco, to be the WBO mandatory challenger for another Australian fighter in Jeff Horn. And he beat Jeff Horn. His first fight at 147. And now here we are. We find our way ourselves in another situation where, he is petitioning for a WBO, and it was against Tszyu. Now, initially, keep in mind, this fight with Tszyu was supposed to be Tszyu versus Keith One-Time Thurman. But Keith One-Time Thurman suffered a broken and torn bicep, okay? Keith Thurman suffered a torn bicep, right? And so because Keith Thurman suffered a torn bicep, Keith Thurman, right, was forced out of the fight. So Sebastian Fundora, the towering inferno, who is 6'6" with an 80-inch arm reach, fighting at 154 pounds, he is an anomaly, right, to say the least. Tszyu is 5'8" with a 70-inch arm reach. Sebastian Fundora was already going to fight for the WBC interim title, the WBC vacant title on the undercard. So to replace Keith Thurman, who wasn't fighting for the WBO title, okay? He wasn't fighting for the WBO title because he denounced the WBO title. So this fight was going to be at a catchweight at 155. No title on the line, right? And so with that said, right, now that he got injured and you put Sebastian Fundora in that position, the WBC decided that they wanted to carry over, the WBC decided that they wanted to carry over the vacant belt, and they included it in this unification bout with Tszyu. Now this fight is at 154, and Tszyu's WBO title is on the line because he's fighting a junior middleweight, and he didn't denounce the WBO title, right? And so now Tszyu lost. As I predicted. He lost. As I told you, he was going to lose a split decision in my fight prediction, right? And that's exactly what happened. So with that said, right, Errol Spence came out the woodwork. Now keep in mind, Errol Spence was supposed to have an immediate rematch with Terrence Crawford, but he suffered a cataracts over his eyes. He had surgery. The recovery period is 6 to 8 weeks. Showtime got out the business of the sport of boxing, so a lot of dominoes fell in the opposite direction of pushing this fight to happen, the rematch with Terrence Bud Crawford, right? Terrence Crawford, according to Showtime president Steven Espinosa, former Showtime president, he stated that Terrence Crawford agreed to all the demands, right? So even some demands that wasn't in the contract for the rematch. He agreed to move to 154, but Errol Spence couldn't uphold his end of the bargain. So Errol Spence informed Terrence Crawford, we don't want to hold up your career. We're going to allow you to move on. So Terrence Crawford said, I'm going to petition for the WBO title at 154. I was going there anyway. He has a close relationship with the WBO and Mr. Paco. And so then Errol Spence suddenly came out the woodworks and said, I'm coming back and I want to fight the winner of Tszyu versus Sebastian Fundora. Now, check out how this worked out, because Errol Spence never wanted to fight Keith Thurman. He don't like Keith Thurman. So when Keith Thurman was involved and the belt wasn't on the line, Errol Spence didn't have any interest. But now Keith Thurman is not involved and 2 belts on the line. The PBC and Errol Spence have interest in pushing Errol Spence into that position and leapfrogging Terrence Crawford, although Terrence Crawford just dominated Errol Spence. So Terrence Crawford, he put on social media after the fight. Sorry, Errol Spence, you got to wait in line. You lost, buddy. You got to work your way back to the top, right? And you looking like a linebacker. Errol Spence responded, I don't do lines. We understand what he's trying to get at, right? As Terrence Crawford said, you got to wait in line. Well, President Mr. Paco, he involves himself. Bang. And he says, I don't care, essentially, what the PBC is talking about, Errol Spence is talking about. Terrence Bud Crawford is going to get his opportunity to fight against Sebastian Fundora in his next fight, right? Or Sebastian Fundora is going to be stripped. Now, also too, right? You got to think about this, right? He says that, so he said next week, we would be ordering this. Sebastian Fundora, he stated, he says, Sebastian Fundora said, you know what? Terrence Crawford is the best fighter in the world, and I want to fight Terrence Bud Crawford. He says, Errol Spence is a big name, big fight, but I want to fight the best in the world, and Terrence Crawford is that. And the president WBO, Mr. Paco, says, you got until next week, and we ordering this fight with Terrence Crawford and Sebastian Fundora. Now, Sebastian Fundora's team, Simpson Lickowitz, he stated that, you, Terrence Crawford, that is, you, Terrence Crawford, don't sell. Errol Spence can sell 90,000 tickets in Dallas, Texas at AT&T Cowboy Stadium, which is a clear indication of what? They already had plans to make this fight at AT&T Dallas Cowboy Stadium, whether it was Tszyu or Sebastian Fundora. And seeing those Sebastian Fundora is Mexican and there's a huge Mexican population in Texas, well, there you have it. But guess what? Sebastian Fundora just shot that down. He says, I want to fight Terrence Bud Crawford because Terrence Bud Crawford is the best fighter in the world and he's undefeated. And Errol Spence lost to Terrence Crawford. And then he stated that now the WBO jumped in and said, yeah, and Errol Spence ain't getting that opportunity until Terrence Crawford gets his. Sebastian Fundora responded and said, I'm not vacating the WBO title. So there you have it. Let's see how this unfolds. Because Tszyu was willing to vacate. And that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. I'm gone. Peace.